Okay, Terry, in the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
you have venial sin
Yes,
and mortal sin.
of course.
And then under mortal sin,
Yes.
there's a larger category. Those are like what we would call mortal sins on steroids.
Exactly.
There's 4 of them. Okay, so here we got. Sin is what offends God. You have venial sin. You have which wounds the soul. You have mortal sin,
Right.
which separates you from God. And then you have the 4 sins that cry to heaven. These are the 4 worst mortal sins.
No, they'll never take us under, because we're bringing truth like thunder, raining on your speakers like a ton of bricks.
So these would be, again, probably, again, like I said, mortal sins on steroids.
Yep.
What are they? The Catechism says in 1867, the catechetical tradition also recalls that there are sins that cry to heaven. Number 1, the blood of Abel. By the way, that would be murder. Murder, okay? The 5th commandment. Thou shalt not commit murder. That's what it says in the Hebrew. It doesn't say kill. It says murder. And the definition of murder
Innocent.
is killing an innocent human being.
You nailed it.
That's the definition.
Yep.
The next, second sin that cries to heaven is the sin of the Sodomites. That is practicing sodomy. That is an unnatural act. Man on man, man on woman. The sin of sodomy is a sin that's so perverted that it cries to heaven. Number 3, the cry of the people oppressed in Egypt, the cry of the foreigner, the widow, and the orphan. Let me mention something about that, because I know somebody will right away start saying, yeah, the United States, this country is, oppresses the poor, or this administration is oppressing the poor by putting on a fence. Here's the first thing that I would say. The United States of America, and you can check me on this because I already wrote this in a book. I got the documentation on this. The United States of America takes in more immigrants every year than any other country on planet Earth.
By far.
So if people are going to say, you guys are, your government's mean because you guys want to put a fence and you guys want to regulate regulation. Guess what? We take in 1 million immigrants a year. By far, we surpass any other country on the globe. We're the most generous country on planet Earth by far. Now, you want to see countries that oppress foreigners? I'll name some. Islamic Sharia countries oppress foreigners.
Of course.
Okay, they're guilty of this sin that cries out to heaven. Who else oppresses foreigners? Communist countries. They oppress foreigners. Who else oppresses foreigners? The Nazis. They oppress foreigners. Remember the Jews
Yep.
and Catholics and Gypsies. Who else oppresses foreigners? Well, in this country, I'll tell you who oppressed foreigners, and we know this for sure. The Ku Klux Klan oppressed foreigners, and the Ku Klux Klan was born from the Democrat Party. That's just a fact. So if you want to say, oh, this administration is oppressing foreigners because they want to put up a fence. No. This administration, like every other, is the most generous administration in terms of legal immigration. But if you want to look historically, did we oppress foreigners in this country? Yeah. There was an organization born from the Southern Democrats called the Ku Klux Klan that oppressed Africans, blacks from Africa.
Yep.
Now, here's a 4th thing, Terry. It says in the Catechism, injustice to the wage earner. Injustice to the wage earner. That's the 4th sin that cries to heaven. So who's guilty of injustice to the wage earner? I could tell you some people who are. Any country that's run sweatshops. You know who runs sweatshops? Communist and socialist countries, governments. They run sweatshops. They basically give, $2 a day for working 12 hours a day. Who else, would I say, in my opinion, who else is unjust to the wage earner? Any governor or mayor that's shutting down their city and their economy and destroying small businesses, and some of these small businesses are closing down indefinitely, mostly in blue cities and blue states. These liberal progressive politicians in this country, they're the ones that are unjust to the wage earner. They're not even letting small businesses and the little guy go to work to make a living and provide for his family. This fourth precept of 1867 of the Catechism is being seen right now, Terry, and this is happening right now in this country by politicians that run blue cities and blue states. They're shutting down small businesses. They're not letting people go to work. They're destroying this economy. That's one of the 4 sins that screams to heaven, Terry.
Well, Jesse, let's be honest. If you can't let a man go to work, what else does he have to have? I mean, he can't provide for his family. It's an unjust thing. And again, I understand, Jesse, that people are going to say, well, it's for the safety. Well, let's be honest about the COVID-19. We've already discussed this in previous shows. There was no need to close the economy down. We've got this handled in the solution to COVID-19, and many people just don't want to face it. But just your point is, let's look at both parties.
I want to go back to the first one because I forgot about the first. I forgot to really give a.
Good.
The first one, you could jump into, Terry, where it says the first sin that cries to heaven is the blood of Abel. So what does that mean?
Yeah, the death.
That means murder.
Murder.
It means murder. Specific, not killing. It means murder. Well, when you look at both party platforms, Terry and me, we've read them for years.
Absolutely.
We know what both parties teach. There's one party they would call themselves on the left. That's their term.
I just call them the party of death.
Well, that's what Cardinal Burke calls them.
Yeah, I do too.
The party of death, they're the ones that have legalized and sanctioned and fund abortion. Abortion is not the killing, not the death. It's the murder of a baby in a mother's womb. It's not the killing. It's the murder of a baby. There's one party which is completely behind that. As a matter of fact,
put it in writing.
Something that horrified me is that I watched on YouTube. I remember this horrifying scene when Governor Cuomo from New York and the Democrat majority legislature, when he signed the late-term abortion bill last year, Terry, people started cheering wildly like it was a Super Bowl touchdown or a grand slam at the World Series.
That's sick.
And exactly. And I mean, the governor's comments, to me, I mean, he was basically praising that piece of legislation.
Yep.
And all it is, Terry, is infant murder.
That's right.
Now, here's another example. Euthanasia. What is euthanasia? It is, once again, physician-assisted killing, physician-assisted suicide. And they target old people.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're getting doctors. Basically, the person consents or the family consents, saying, I don't want to live no more for whatever reason. You don't have to really give a good reason these days. And they give you an injection or a pill to kill you. Terry, the Hippocratic Oath says that doctors are healers.
No harm to
But
the
the
patient.
party of death, the party on the left, through legislation that's passed like in about 20 states now, euthanasia has turned the profession of healing to the profession of killers with a needle and with pills, Terry.
Jesse, you're speaking the truth in charity. This is the truth. These are the facts. Now, why are we bringing this up? Because, Jesse, in 70-some days, we're going to have to make a vote. And what we're trying to do is give you high information for you to be a high information Catholic, to vote with a Catholic moral conscience. We can't tell you, hey, vote for X, Y, and Z, but we can give you the facts on what the policies. I call it the party of death, and it's just the reason, Cardinal Burke said it, is because they believe that killing an innocent life is part of their platform. Read it for yourself. And I would recommend that people go to Father Frank Pavone's website where he has that very clearly stated. It's as simple as reading it for yourself. Don't trust me if you're going, Jesse, come on, man. You're
making this stuff up.
Come on, it can't be true.
Yeah.
It's the facts. Go ahead. It's the facts.
Yeah, here's one more. Let's remember there's 4 sins that cry to heaven, so we've already covered 2. We've covered murder. We've covered
innocent life. Yep.
Innocent.
When
We've
you kill,
covered.
And let's make a clarification. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not kill. Yeah. Thou shalt not murder. Then innocent life. Jesse, there is a position that church teaches that if someone came in to my home to do harm to my wife and family, I would use proportionate measures, and if it meant killing him to stop him, then that was part of my duty. So you see the distinction between innocent life And the man that came into her, my wife, and family, he's
an
not
unjust
innocent.
aggressor.
That's what I was just going to say.
Unjust
He's
aggressor.
an unjust aggressor, and my duty is to stop him.
Yep. So the second sin that cries to heaven is called the sin of the Sodomites.
Yep.
So, what party has legalized same-sex marriage?
Good question. Just the facts now.
The
Sergeant
party on
Friday.
the left, the party of death.
Yep.
They've legalized it. First of all, they started passing it in California. They rammed it through in California
Remember
by
Prop 8?
executive order.
Yep, I remember
Yeah,
that.
even though it was defeated by the people
Yep,
twice.
we all voted against it.
And then they took it to their friends, Terry, in the
I
Supreme
remember.
Court.
Yep.
And the Supreme Court at that moment was
Horrible.
decidedly left.
Yep.
And so the Supreme Court's basically supported their position. And now we have Obergefell versus Hodges.
Right.
So now a sin that cries to heaven, that offends God because it goes against the natural law that was instituted by God between man and woman, and it goes against divine positive law. Now you have one party that's saying, God, you've got it wrong. We've got it. In 2010, we got it right. You've been wrong the whole time, and we're going to allow two people from the same sex to get married. We don't care what you say, God. That's what they said, Terry.
And Jesse, we're not right versus left, okay? We know what it comes down to. We're right versus wrong on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. You'll get it straight talk.